Welcome to the Lion's Den. Today's program, we're going to do a two-part program on screening children as young as 6 months. If you're out there, you want to hang on, this show is going to be great. My name is Dick Laing from the Adams Lions, and to my immediate right is Greg Prentice, past district governor, and he's from the Cummington Lions. Greg, you and I are co-producers of today's program, and you know, I think there's people out there that don't know who the Lions are.
No, can't be.
There's quite a few. I find quite a few people don't realize. Just to let you people know, we are over 1,350,000 members in 208 countries and territories. There are over 46,000 clubs, and we speak 11 official languages. Berkshire County Lions are located in North Adams, Cheshire, Dalton, Pittsfield, Hinsdale, Lee, Great Barrington, and Stockbridge. Each program we do a thought of the day, and today's thought of the day is, what's done to children, they will do to society. And that was by Dr. Carl Menninger. Greg, who is our guest today? And let's get this program going.
Thanks, Dick. Today's guest is Lion Alan Daninihirsch, past council chairman, multiple district, Connecticut. And he's the author of the Connecticut Lion's Eye Health Youth Vision Procedure, a project for them to screen all children between the ages of 6 months and 5 years. This is part one of 2 shows about this subject. Welcome, Lion Alan. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dick and Greg.
Welcome, Alan.
Nice to be here.
Connecticut Lions have invested a large effort in your project. Please tell us why it's so important to screen these youngsters.
Well, we recognized a few years ago that there's a tremendous lack of attention to vision acuity amongst young people. Let's see, in March of 2010, the New York Times published an article stating that between 20 and 25% of the children who enter the public school system in this country have eye problems.
Wow.
That have not been detected.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at many of the children that are essentially diagnosed with learning disabilities, it turns out that at least 70% of those also have visual problems, and that in many of the children, it's determined that the vision problem is really the problem, and they're not really learning disabled. It's that they can't see. And doctors have determined that in the early years, the early child development, about 80% of all knowledge that comes into a child's mind comes through the eyes. It is absolutely essential that these children enter the school system at the kindergarten level with at least having had some good eye screening. And what's being done right now, even though it's mandated in many places, in the nursery schools and early learning centers, what's being done now is very superficial. Imagine trying to get a 3-year-old to respond to an eye chart. It just is not the way to do it. And so we've undertaken to try to screen as many children as we possibly can in the state of Connecticut that are in that early learning age group prior to kindergarten.
That's interesting. Where do you screen the children?
Well, what we found is that it's much better to go to them, to get them in a captive audience kind of situation. And so we'll go to nursery schools, Head Start programs, preschools that exist in the public school system, any place where there is a gathering of children. Right now we zero in on children between the ages of 2 and 5. As you said, we can screen a child at 6 months old. But you have to realize that, first of all, gathering children that are 6 months old together usually doesn't work. And so it's really a time factor and where you can get the best bang for the buck, and it's at these nursery schools and Head Start programs.
Why is screening at before first grade, which is mandated usually by the state.
Yeah, that is here.
Okay.
And why is screening before that so important?
Well, we'll talk about what the eye problems and eye diseases are that we're looking for later on. But many of these things can be corrected in children that are below the age of 5 or 6, easily corrected with eyeglasses, sometimes an eye patch, but intervention by a professional at the early stages between the ages of 3 and 5 or 3 and 6 is critical to getting some of these children corrected by the time they enter school. By the time a child's 6 years old and the problem has set in, it's very, very difficult, much more difficult to correct it.
You know, we mentioned screening as early as 6 months. Is that effective? Have you had any experiences down there?
We have done a
Younger
few.
level?
We
Yeah.
have done a few. As I said before, it's not as effective as going into a room that's got 20, 30 children in it that are 3 years old, because you're never going to find 6-month-olds
No,
that
true.
way.
Yeah.
And in many cases, we find that the child's eyes are not yet really developed at the age of 6 months or below a year. You can get a warning signal. You can tip the parents off that make sure that this 6-month-old is taken to an eye doctor, not just a pediatrician who's going to flash a light in his eyes and say, oh, he's fine. Something's wrong here. Make sure the child gets an eye care professional within the first year of his life. That's about all that we can expect to do with a 6-month-old.
Okay.
But still, it's a warning sign that parents don't generally otherwise get.
How does the spot vision scanner work?
Well, this is the scanner, and essentially it's nothing more than a camera. And what it's doing is taking a picture of the child's eyes, the two eyes simultaneously, and then measuring. The computer in here will measure all kinds of various aspects of the two eyes together. And it will determine whether or not those eyes meet the norm for that age child. If there's an eye that's wandering off in one way or another, if there are pupil sizes that are too small or too large, or the two eyes don't focus together, things of that nature. That's basically all there is to this thing. Technically, I'm not really sure what makes it all happen. But essentially, it's nothing but a camera.
Yeah. How long does it take for a screening? The screening, how long does it take?
Actually, built into the camera is a keypad in which you put the child's name and date of birth.
Okay.
And putting in the date of birth sets the computer to measure according to that criteria.
Okay.
It actually takes us longer to put that information in for the child than it does to do the actual screening. The screening works just like this.
So you're just taking a
and
picture?
all I've got to do is get, and the thing, there isn't even a shutter to click. It does it itself. So many times if the child holds still and pays attention for a split second, you can do the screening with this machine in less than 2 seconds.
Wow.
As I said, it takes about 10 or 15 seconds to put the information in.
Yeah, right.
Generally, in a school setting, nursery school setting, we can screen about 25 kids an hour. And that includes all the putting in of information and
With the
everything
information
else.
that includes, right.
Yep. And we put each child in individually.
amazing.
So
2 minutes to get the information.
Yeah.
from one
Wow.
kid. Isn't
Wow.
that amazing?
Yep.
What's the most effective use of the results of the test?
Well, the program that we're running, we work through the school administrator or the school nurse or whoever is in charge, and each child will get a printout of what their eyes look like. And it looks like that. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's got all the information that this thing is reading, and it also tells the parent whether the child has passed the exam or, it's in this case, a complete eye exam is recommended. We attach to this a letter that says your child passed or the criteria or failed the criteria. We ask the school administrator to make sure that those 2 pieces of paper go back to the parent so that each individual parent gets a copy of how the child was screened and a copy of our recommendation letter. Now, it's important that we don't diagnose.
Yes, I was just going to ask that
This
question.
is a screening. And all we're trying to do is say to the parent, listen, this wonderful little machine has indicated to us that your child needs some attention from an eye care professional. Please get him there. We right now leave the onus of follow-up on the school administrator, school nurse, teacher, whatever. We don't have in place yet a program to do the follow-up with the individual parents. But someday we might.
Okay. What vision condition does the instrument screen for?
Okay, there's a whole list of items that this thing will spot. First of all, strabismus, which is a misalignment of the two eyes. In other words, they're not focusing together. Amblyopia, which you and I know as lazy eye, one eye kind of drifts off. Anisocoria, which is an anomaly in the pupil size. If the sizes of the two pupils are different, that's going to produce a vision problem. And it's the kind of problem that will get worse as the child gets older. And there are a number of refractive errors as well. Astigmatism, which results from irregularly shaped corneas and lenses. Myopia, which is nearsightedness, hyperopia, which is farsightedness, and anisometropia, which is just generally a difference between the two eyes that will cause the child to see not normally.
Okay.
That would be like one eye is 20/20 and the other one's 20/80.
It might,
something like
but
that.
those things might be caused by something different. But those kind of anomalies are what this machine will pick up. And again, it doesn't diagnose. It just simply says, here's what we see, and what we see doesn't meet the norm for this age child.
How many children have you screened since you started?
In our district, Connecticut is divided into 3 districts. So in our district, we're now up to about 3,200 children. Across the entire state, we're over 5,000 now. And we seem to be running a referral rate of about 10 or 11%, which, from talking with other states that are running this program, that's a little bit below normal. But we have gone into school systems where we have found 24, 25% show up with referrals. And you have to admit that it has to do a little bit with the socioeconomic picture of the area that you're dealing with.
And that's where the Lions can help with that follow-up, get back to the parents. If the parents can feel free to talk to the local club, or the local club to the parents, either way, just to make sure that the follow-up happens and perhaps fund it.
What we're doing right now is saying to the teachers and school administrators and nurses, here is this particular child that has a problem. Make sure that the parents get this information and take the child to an optometrist, an ophthalmologist, and you, the teacher, should get a report back.
From the doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So right now we're kind of backing out of that level. But we tell the school administrator and we tell the nurse that if this child has a problem and the parents can't afford to get them the proper thing, then you, the nurse, get in touch with us, the local Lions Club, and we will then intercede. The thing that we're not yet set up to do is a one-on-one relationship between the Lions Club and the parent. But some of the other states who are running this project, and we'll talk about that later, have established that. But those other states are hired by the State Department of Education or the State Department of Health to be the official screeners for all preschool children in the state. And that's when the interrelationship directly between the parent and the Lions Club begins to fall into place.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. We're starting, this is exciting for us here, especially with our iMobile, to put this in the iMobile. And we're trying to, I've already set up in Cheshire preschool up there. The gentleman up there teacher is excited about it, and we're going to have to go through the procedures here. It's going to be our first one. We're actually going to set up a pilot program. Is that the way you basically start?
What we did was, I started with a pilot program up in Thompson, Connecticut, back about 4 years ago. Small town, just a very concentrated group of children, and
That's what we have. Yeah.
did that. And we did that by making our first inroad, if you will, getting our foot in the door with the administrator of the school that had preschool children in it. So we were able to get started that way. And what we discovered, or what we think we discovered, was that if you work directly, if your first line of attack, let's say, is to these school administrators or school nurses, that's the best way to get your foot in the door. And we put the onus on the individual clubs in their individual towns to make the contact with their school administrators or their school nurses, and set it up, and then turn around and come back to the state, the Lion's Eye Health Program, the foundation, in your case the iMobile or whoever is going to manage it, come back to us and say, the town of Cheshire wants to do this. When do you have the equipment available? And when can you train us? And we'll talk about training in a minute.
Yeah, that was another question I had.
That's the program, is to go to the school administrator first, rather than any other avenue that might work.
Well, that's basically what I did. I went to the teacher that's in charge of the preschool group there, and he's excited. He was hoping to get down here today just to witness the program here that we're doing, but I'm sure he was tied up with something, didn't make it. But okay, that's good, because we'll work on that basis there up in Cheshire. Yeah. So, go ahead.
We've got about 10 minutes left. You've honed your message so well. I was curious, how much did you use the models from? How much of your procedure did you derive from what the Lions in Louisiana and Iowa have done? Okay,
I first came across this program at, I believe it was a USA-Canada Forum back about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And the Louisiana Lions, a guy by the name of Jeff Robinson, who ran the program down there, did an onstage presentation, trotted out one of the little children with eyeglasses, and talked about the whole program. And I just looked at that and said, why aren't we doing this in Connecticut? I mean, this is just
absolutely
so simple and so direct. Why aren't we doing this?
Where has this been?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Jeff was a big help to me in establishing protocol and setting up the method that we should use, and we finally came out with a protocol manual that's it's like 40 pages thick. I mean, but you need this kind of thing to keep it all consolidated. So we put that together. We did the pilot program up in Thompson that I talked about, and then once the clubs heard about it. And the key here is the individual clubs. If you're going to Cheshire, it ought not to be you two guys in the school.
I haven't even approached them yet.
Right, there at least
been so
ought
quick.
to be the Cheshire Lions.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Once the clubs catch on to this thing and see how wonderful it is, and what could be wrong with dealing with 3- and 4-year-olds? It's the greatest pleasure in the world. And so once you get this going in a few towns, it will just mushroom by itself.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, I have to go back to the folks in Louisiana and in LCI in general, and they really were
They started because finally an instrument was available that would do what needed to be done conveniently.
This is really almost a third or fourth generation of this kind of stuff. Back when Louisiana started, they were using this big handheld Polaroid camera thing.
Really?
That was, it looks like you're holding a wine barrel, and it has really generated. When we started, this thing was the camera, a laptop computer, a printer, and enough wires to make a bowl of spaghetti out of. And it did basically the same thing, but it took a half an hour to set the thing up.
Yeah.
And unless you color-coded the wires, it was hopeless.
Yeah. And you got a room full of little kids waiting for that to happen.
Yeah,
right now,
that
that's
doesn't
not
work.
good. They can't
everything,
wait.
the computer, the laptop, the entire thing is in here. The
Built
only
in.
other thing I would arrive with is a standard printer, computer printer, and the two talk to one another wireless. So there isn't even a
awesome.
wire
It's clean.
involved.
Oh, it's clean. It's right. It's awesome.
You turn that on, you turn this on, and everything's
There you go.
connected.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I saw that down at the RV show down there, and I couldn't believe it. And
Yeah.
I just immediately got excited because it was,
It's-
I could do it. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And you don't
Exactly.
push the button. That's the
That's
other
right.
thing.
Very
When the
little to do.
report comes out, I got a question. When your report comes
Yes.
out, and you mentioned that is there an area where it will show that you should talk to the parent or the guardian as to a report? Is it in the upper right-hand corner?
It's in the
of
upper right-hand corner, and again, I don't know how much you can see, but right
Yeah.
here,
It's in
this
red.
is in red,
Yeah.
and it says, complete eye exam is recommended.
Oh, recommended.
And
Okay.
you can see a red bar down here
Okay.
that's indicating what general area of problem. In this case, the child had an astigmatism.
Yeah.
Really, the data that's here is basically a prescription for eyeglasses. And the optometrists and ophthalmologists in our clubs that we work with tell us that this is good enough for them to make a pair of eyeglasses with.
Oh, really? Oh, that's amazing.
They
so,
will-
but that's easy for a parent that knows really, who knows about eyes or estrogen. Nobody really knows out there, and I still
No.
don't know much about it.
The
but
thing that goes to
key
the
is
parent
there.
that the parent wants to see is that thing right there.
But it also, with the recommendation, it also tells you what, in that red line, is that what you're saying down here?
Yeah,
And that tells
it
what
gives you the
the
basic
area
idea
that's wrong?
of where
Yep.
the anomaly is.
Cool.
Again, this is not a diagnostic
No,
tool.
right, exactly.
It's good enough to be one, and there are optometrists and ophthalmologists who are using this for
Mm-hmm.
their basic screening techniques. But it's just a warning signal. And it's a pretty good warning
Yeah.
signal if you are a professional and know how to interpret the information that's
Right.
on here.
So the parent would take that.
Yes.
And take all the that particular paper to the ophthalmologist or
Right.
wherever they're going. And then would the ophthalmologist do another check on it at his place?
They would,
Yeah,
because
just to verify.
they know professionally that that this is the result of a screening, and a screening is a screening. It's
Yeah,
not
right.
a diagnosis.
Yeah. Right.
But
Right.
what we have been told by a number of them that are in our clubs is that the thing is that good
Wow,
that
that's
I came
amazing.
out with my sophisticated equipment in the office. I came out with the same set of numbers.
I know that works
So-
because when we were down RV, they did one on me.
Yep.
And it was my prescription for my glasses.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why, even though this machine is good for from 6 months old to 90 years old, you're really kind of wasting its time screening guys like you and me.
Yes,
we
exactly.
already know the
Yeah,
problems.
right. Yeah.
It's the thing we want to do is to catch those
Catch them
children
before they
who
get into the
parents don't
school,
know.
and your
Exactly.
percentage of learning or the learning ability will
right.
increase also.
That's right.
Yeah, you know what? We had 10 minutes. We're down to
down to
the close of the first half, Ellen. And let's see here. Yeah, I know. I think, okay, I want to thank you right now, but we'll thank you again later on before the program's over. For what you've done so far, and we're looking forward to getting this started up here in Western Mass, and then I'm sure it'll move out in Massachusetts.
Good.
If it isn't already out there somewhere that we don't know about. Greg, what do we got for?
Well, I want to acknowledge we've
Okay.
mentioned the RV show a couple of times.
Yes.
This show came out of a display that Lion Dave Shields of the Charlemont Lions
Okay.
has been getting a What Do Lions Do? A display, a professional display that he has built out of his own pocket into the camping and RV show of Pioneer Valley Chapter 8 every year for the past 10 years,
10 years,
which is
yeah.
amazing.
That's
and,
amazing.
And unfortunately, he broke his leg this January, so I took it over and set the thing up, and I needed help because it's 4 days, and Dave Shields gave me the contact, and actually I cornered Carolyn Messier, your immediate past international director at our midwinter, and I said, put me in touch with somebody that can come and show us that thing at the
2
camping
minutes.
show.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Yep,
We
2
gotta
minutes
get
to
done.
go. Yeah. We had the honor of having Dan Uwitty, another past district
Yep.
governor from Connecticut,
Right.
come up. He brought his wife Sandy and another lion, and they started hooking kids right out of the people, the families that would walk by, and
Yeah.
they'd grab kids and they'd check them. They did 50 kids in 2 days.
Did they really?
Yeah, we were down by the Bloodmobile. You were there,
I was there. Yeah.
and
It's
we got
unbelievable.
to do
Yep.
a kid.
Yep.
And it's
It's
so easy to use.
Training
Yeah,
takes
it's
seconds.
like
Yeah.
you said, the keypad takes longer than to actually get the shot.
Yep.
It really is wonderful.
I got really excited. That thing is so simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So simple to operate and do, and not many people get the opportunity to have
Right.
a group come by and say, "Hey, come on in. We'll get you started." Excuse me. Go ahead.
We're gonna close with some other information.
You're going to have to hurry because
Yeah, I
I
know.
need
Down
30
to
seconds.
under a minute.
You're done.
Yeah, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. The I-Mobile, we brushed the ice and snow off the I-Mobile, and we had them at Springfield Technical Community College on April Fools, and then at the Campus Club at AIC the second day. We've been at a couple of events in April. We've got Belchertown coming up on Friday, and at their street fair. We've got an event in Westfield that's coming up on the 13th.
Well, I got to interrupt you now.
you gotta
because
close
we gotta
the
close
show.
the
We're out
show.
of
So, Alan, thank you very much for coming. We're going to have
Pleasure.
another part 2 here.
Yep.
Each day, smile a little, laugh a little, and use your own power of positive thinking. Don't forget, we care, we serve, we accomplish. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Whoa.